we have to start discussing issues that to a large degree we push under the rug. We have 3 people in America who own more wealth than the bottom half of American society.
Yeah, which is extraordinary, isn't it?
It's extraordinary. So you got these billionaires who, they literally don't know what to do with their money. They really don't. They go off to outer space, you know, they buy another island, you know.
Jeff Bezos, case in point, went into space with Captain Kirk. So if you're, but if you're so rich, you're trying to make films come true. Like there's talk of him sending Michael J. Fox back in time so he can bang his mum. Then clearly, but that's an indication that you have too much wealth. What blows my mind is why do you think sort of a degree of morality doesn't kick in? Because if you owned tens of billions and you looked at America or the world and didn't think, God, I could fix huge swathes of these, why do you think that doesn't kick in?
That's a good question, and I don't know the answer for sure, but I think the people on top are really obsessed with greed. Look, it's understandable. Everybody wants to have more money. You want to live a good life. That's natural. We all do. But if you have $5 billion, do you really need to step on people in order to get another $5 billion? How much money do these people need?
Yeah.
And then it's not just inequality in terms of money. These people use their money to maintain their power and the status quo, and they're very smart at it. So in my country, at least, you have billionaires owning the media, and you have 90% of the American people getting media from 8 multinational media conglomerates. And they frame what we're supposed to be outraged at. All right, so, some kid walks into a store and robs the store, and we say, that's a terrible thing, that's criminal activity. And God knows in my country, there's too much gun violence. That's terrible. But what about, Russell, think about this for a second. The CEO of an oil company or a coal company who knew 60 years ago that carbon emissions were going to have a devastating impact on the planet. They were told that by their scientists. And you know what they did? They lied. They said, we don't really know. There's a debate going on about what carbon emissions will do. They lied. We have drug company executives in America who are raising prices, and we pay far more than you do for prescription drugs, but are raising prices so high that thousands of people die each year because they can't afford the medicine. What do we call those people? If a kid walks into a store and robs it, that's a criminal. I think these people are bigger criminals, and we have to deal with that reality.
Definitely. How do you do that? Because it feels, I mean, most people kind of agree with that, but like you say, there are so many, it's so entrenched.
Yes, it is.
In American society that if Jeff Bezos owns the Washington Post,
that's right,
then he owns the way that the news is.
You got it. And Elon Musk now owns Twitter, and other billionaires own newspapers. It is tough stuff, and the change is not going to come tomorrow. But I think the way we bring about change is the way that real change has always taken place. And for a start, people have got to begin standing up and fighting back. That's what they've got to do.
Yeah.
And you saw that most extremely during the pandemic, in which we're still in, but at the heart of the pandemic, tens of thousands of workers in America and in the UK, these were nurses, these were bus drivers, grocery store workers, they go to work, and many of them died.
Yeah.
Tens of thousands died. The billionaire class became $2 trillion richer during that period. So I think it is high time to take a hard look at the structure, the economic structure of society and the political structure, because in my country at least, these billionaires are able to contribute as much money as they want into politics and elect the candidates who will serve their interests.
It feels like people don't get outraged about that because the current stories that come out of America are Superman's become a girl, or Peppa Pig's got 3 sets of genitals, or have you heard what they're doing with the kids' books? And it feels like there's that old saying, isn't it? Find angry people, tell them you understand their anger, find something to point their anger at, and walk away.
Russell, I think you hit the nail on the head. Look, if you are the establishment, and if things are going better for you, the top 1% than ever in American history, you like what's going on. It's great. All right, how do we deflect attention away from that reality? How do we deflect attention that the rich are getting richer and you are getting poorer? Well, we entertain people in a dozen different ways.
Yeah.
So you got television. In the United States, you could turn on cable television. You got literally dozens and dozens and dozens of stations. Everything in the world you can possibly want, except talking about the reality of American life, who owns American life, and how we can move in a different direction.
Surely the way to do that is to write an amazing sitcom about American life. And you have to put it through the machine that works.
You won't get it into a major network.
What if we get Seinfeld and...
You'll get funny things.
Beyonce. Seinfeld and Beyonce do a funny / musical look at American life. It's a first thought. But I guess the point I'm searching for is, how do you get that message out?
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, social media is revolutionary.
Yeah, true. But we're fighting against people who can flip water bottles upside down. But you've seen that. Grown men and women get a water bottle and see if they can fling it to land on the bottom. That will get more views than this.
All right, but...
Unless I flip you. See? Feel that?
All right, there you go. Next time, not today.
That's the way we do it. Next time on Bernie and Russ.
I'll be back. You can
flip you. Yeah.
But I'll give you an example, and where social media has been revolutionary. I ran for president, and when we run for president, again, we do meetings 3 or 4 times a day, all over the country. We get on a plane, go to someplace else, and that's what we do. And normally, what would happen is you talk to a few thousand people, and that's great. Maybe some local media will cover it, and that's great. But with social media, what we were able to do is live stream the events. So an event in which there were 2,000 people would be seen by 200,000 people. So for the first time in America, people were hearing ideas that they never saw on the major networks. And they saw people responding in a positive way. So I think one of the important things that we did is through social media is break through the corporate stranglehold on the limitation of ideas.
Yeah.
And that was significant.
And your campaign, you didn't take money from kind of corporate interests or business, did you?
No, we didn't. And that was also kind of revolutionary. I mean, one of the reasons that you don't hear the type of things that I talk about very much in American politics is because if you are dependent on corporate PACs, just so everybody knows, a PAC is a political action campaign. As a result of a terrible Supreme Court decision, in America today, if you're a billionaire, you can put hundreds of millions of dollars into a PAC, which can then, put advertising on against any candidate you want, for any candidate you want. So as a billionaire, you have tremendous political power. Obviously, we didn't want any of that money. And we said, well, how do you run a presidential campaign, which is pretty expensive? How do you do that? And we decided to appeal to working class people for help. And in 2016, we got millions of contributions, averaging $27 a piece. 2020, it actually went down to $20 a piece. So ordinary people, nurses and working class folks, just contributed a few bucks, and that enabled us to run strong campaigns.
Because I guess if you're a politician, you're elected by a business, they become your stakeholder.
That's right.
So how close are you as a country being able to stop sort of lobbyists? That feels like an impossible thing to do.
Let me give you an example. Your point is exactly right. Look, if I make a major contribution to you.
Yeah. To me. Yeah.
To you personally.
Okay.
If you want to run for the senator someplace in New York, and I help raise $50 million for you, you're indebted to me, right? You're going to listen to me. Mm-hmm. In terms of lobbyists, do you all know what lobbyists are? Yes. All right. Again, the terms in the United States may be a little bit different than here. Lobbyists are people who represent corporate interests trying to get their ideas and their needs through. Give you one example. There are 100 members of the U.S. Senate, there are 435 members of the House of Representatives, 535 members of Congress. There are 1,700 well-paid lobbyists from the pharmaceutical industry in Washington, D.C.
Wow.
Isn't that extraordinary?
Yeah.
And the result of that, these guys have managed to create a situation where, unlike the UK, by the way, they can raise prices to any level they want. You go to a drugstore to buy your medicine, price is double than it was last year, no problem. They can do it because of their power, their money, their lobbyists.